After our last pizza night, some would recall we heard about a head-on collision on the Bass Highway. I think it was at Elizabethtown, if I remember rightly. But it was some time before we heard that two of the guys involved in that accident were here at the pizza night, and it was on their way home. So they're going to share a bit of their story tonight about this accident, which you would remember that at the last meeting, Mario talked on the relevance of miracles. So Peter and Mark are going to share their story tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, last pizza night. That was a really good night. Most of you here, I presume? When Mario spoke on miracles, I remember going up to him before we left and said, you know, how much it touched me. And I think for both of us, we walked out of here on a high because we were talking in the car on the way here, and for me it was like a shot in the arm, that the relevance of how God still does miracles and He's working in our lives in amazing ways. We just didn't realise we were going to be part of our own little miracle about an hour after walking out the door. For the first time, when we came down here, my wife came with me, and she spent the evening with some other women at La Trobe. They had a pizza as well, and just a bit of fellowship. So after the meeting here, we drove to La Trobe. I drove with Neil Doyle, and we were talking about, you know, godly things, about what had happened here that night. It was, I really felt we were on a spiritual high. We stayed at La Trobe for 15-20 minutes, and then Mark was in the passenger seat, I was driving, and my wife was in the back seat. And so we headed off, and we continued to talk together about what Mario had shared and what we'd heard that night. And the girls had their own little discussions. They talked about angels and how they felt that, you know, each of us, you know, there was an angel looking after us, and this sort of discussion. As we approached Deloraine, you know, where the overtaking lanes are, just coming down the hill towards the Meander Valley River, there's a white bridge over the thing. We come up slowly behind another car, and I sort of didn't realise, and then I thought, oh, I'm going a bit quicker than this car. I should get round him before the overtaking lane ends. So sped up, went down the hill, and then all of a sudden we seen what we thought was a motorbike. It looked like they were overtaking in a crazy spot. We didn't speak, but later we just had the same sort of feeling. It wasn't a motorbike, it was another car. So all of a sudden you're in your lane, and you've got two vehicles coming at you. There's guardrails on either side, there's not much room, and so there was a huge impact. I think just realising that we really should have probably been killed in that accident. Like, I've got some pictures of the cars if you'd like to put up. The first car, there were two. I'll get. Actually, you can share now, and you can explain the accident. You know what happened. Go on.
Okay. I was also struck. The other fellow that spoke, I don't know if he's here this time around, but last time when he spoke about near-death experiences that he'd had in his life, and and the miracles that the doc spoke about as well. So it was the biggest accident that I've ever been in, and I think that, I know that God was definitely in it, because we both felt that someone had saved us, really. So no one was really seriously injured, including the two other fellas that caused the accident. The other two blokes were doing the wrong thing. So we'd like to pray for them as well, because we also felt and spoke afterwards that we felt that, you know, if they hadn't have ran into us that night and there was some miraculous intervention, they might have killed someone down the track. So neither of them had licences, two young blokes, both under the influence, and drag racing. So they were doing everything wrong. But they definitely need some prayer as well.
This is the first car. The first car, they were mates. The red car was overtaking the silver car, and he must have just come in and clipped our right-hand side and went straight along our right-hand side. It veered our car into the path of the second car, which we hit straight away, the silver one. Just click on it. Double click. Yeah. This is our car. And then the silver one. It probably, all it does is it gives you an idea of how miraculous it was. Like,
I did offer to drive out tonight instead of Pete.
And then the last one is this one. That's the actual crash site. So that's pictures taken about 10:45, the Friday night of the pizza night. We hit the silver car head on, and that's how we ended up. So travelling at, it's like with at least 110, possibly more, each of us. So the impact was probably close to 220 kilometres an hour, and you come to an automatic. We hit and just spun around and landed side by side. So both of us, it was almost. It was nasty. So, God continues to do miracles, and in my own little way, I think that night here sort of He prepared us for what was to come, and then to see His hand in the healing. Straight away, my wife, she was able to get out of the car, ring our friends. People started praying for us. My daughter's in the USA. She's part of a big church over there. Their church started praying for us. I reckon we had hundreds of people praying for us within a matter of minutes of the accident, within 15 minutes of the accident. So, God had our backs the whole way. So that's our little story of the last pizza night. We're thankful. Injuries were significant. 5 days in hospital for me, 4 days for you. Fractured back, one main fracture. 2 other smaller ones, fractured pelvis, busted ribs. But some of those prayers that people put in were for healing. It could have been so much worse, fractured back could have been, at one stage they were talking of flying me to Hobart to be operated on, and sort of like God's just sort of healed it all, I didn't even need a back brace in the end, so it was just amazing. So.
Yeah, praise God.
Yeah, that's our story.